Well, welcome to this session on PDC Places, and to just showcase some of the activities that are going on in the Asia Pacific, Africa and European region, and more widely in the case of the Patio International Group. And before we start, in keeping with the rituals that we're trying to establish within this conference, I want to acknowledge where I'm speaking from, which is the city of York in England. And I was challenged by this in terms of thinking about the history of my place. I recognize the privileges that I've benefited from. England is viewed as one of the places that is financially very rich in this world, but at the same time is actually somewhere where nature has been terribly depleted, and a lot of that has been through the processes of colonization, industrialization that have made this place rich, but are actually causing much of the damage that the planet is suffering. So I want to acknowledge my privileges and the harms associated with that. So just to reiterate the sort of principles in terms of how we want to proceed. So the guidelines for being together, please be kind and mindful of differences, and please be patient with the technical constraints and hiccups. Please listen deeply and participate with respect. Please mute your microphone during sessions and avoid interrupting presenters by distracting other attendees. Be careful in your choice of words and try to make your expressions and languages inclusive. Please don't judge and trivialize others, and phrase critiques respectfully with constructive advice. Avoid generalizations, and yeah, anchor your comments within your own experience. And yeah, perhaps we should go ahead and let Kagonya tell us some of what's happening in the PDC place in East Africa. So I will mute my microphone and let Kagonya talk.
Great. Thank you very much, Andy, and thank you everyone who's come for this session. Really happy to be here. So as Andy said, my name is Kagonya. I work at the Microsoft Africa Research Institute. It's a new institute in Kenya. It was opened, we've only been here for about 2 years. So I partnered with my friends, because we actually met when we were planning for Africa about 2-3 years ago. And they are at the University of Makerere in Uganda. So we had discussions with Andy, and we decided to come together and have an East African PDC place as opposed to a Kenyan one and a Ugandan one. So Kenya and Uganda actually share a border, and we have lots of rich history together. What we did is now have sessions where we have one session in Kenya and we have an upcoming session in Uganda. So I'll spend the next 2 to 3 minutes talk about the session that we had in Kenya. So in Kenya, we had this on August 11th, and this was a session that was completely online. The initial intention was to have a hybrid session. However, it was our election week in Kenya, and it was felt that it might not be the safest thing to host a hybrid session when there's a lot of political ruckus and political melee going on around the country. So we decided to have it entirely online, which was quite great still. And we divided the session into a keynote speech, and then a panel session. And the theme for our session really was practicing, participatory design in practice. What does that look like for this East African region? I must say I was really pleased with our keynote speaker because she represents Africa at the moment. And this is, a very passionate person, passionate about the continent, passionate about doing good for the continent, and very keen on building technologies for the continent that solve problems and that address needs. Our keynote speaker has started her own company less than 5 years ago. She actually studied at the University of Sheffield, then chose to come back home to Kenya, like many Africans do, and started a business. And what she was deliberate about, or rather she learned as she went along, is that designing her products definitely has to involve the end users. So with a background in aeronautical engineering, and she moved into building of medical devices, she learned very quickly that user-centered design, participatory design, or co-design is quite important and tantamount to her ensuring that the end products and the product that she builds will help the end user. So we had that keynote speech, which was quite, well received, involved quite a bit of discussion in the Q&A session. Then we had a panel session. And again, the panel session was again representing, the younger, I guess, people in industry and in academia, talking about how they practice or how they put into place, or their perceptions and realities of participatory design. So in industry, for example, it's the shorter time periods. If academia and industry, which is a company like ours, which is a research institute within a larger industry or commercial business, you get to this, tag and toss, where you have to be in some sort of middle ground, because you have to attend again to academic needs, but still industrial concerns. And then, of course, we had academia represented. So we're quite deliberate at getting, I think personally for me, I wanted to involve the younger generation, if I should put it that way, because for me, I've been in the field of, my background is in human-computer interaction. So I've been in that field for quite some time. And I noticed that we keep on getting the same stars. When you have a conference, when you have a keynote speaker, it's the same stars that come to give the keynote speakers. So my colleagues and I decided, why don't we look for these younger, budding professionals and have them have those conversations, because we actually have a lot to learn. Learning never stops. And I wanted to see how participatory design evolved, even though it's quite a short time period. How has it evolved for East Africa, and what does it look like? So that I think was one of the key things I took, one of the takeaways, at least for us and for others. It was that, this is it's like a button, you have to pass it down, and then it's beautiful how participatory design is shaping startups, big industry, large, smaller industries, and academia on the continent. We have a next session coming up, so I will just share. Okay. Great. I wanted just to share, I'll put a link to our page on the PDC website. We have another session coming up, and so it's going to be hosted by our counterparts in Uganda, the University of Makerere. And when you go to the link, you'll find more details about it. So I invite you all to join. There's a link where you can sign up, and then we'll send you the details. Thank you very much. Happy to answer any questions if you have time.
Yeah, if anybody's got any questions for Kagonya about what's going on and what's planned, then please do. Okay, well, I mean, we'll have time, if you think of questions, we'll be able to pick them up later. So let's crack on. Let's crack on. And let's learn about what's happening in India.
Hi, good morning and good afternoons and good evening. The India team is Tanishka Kachru, Simran Chopra, and Sucharita and Praveen Nahar. I'll just share my screen and talk about the things that are happening here right now and what is planned for the offline event on the 1st of September. Can I have permission to share screen? It's disabled by the host.
You should be able to now, Sugarita.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so PDC Places India is in its intent trying to establish a network of PDC practitioners in India and trying to map the landscape of participatory design that is happening in many disciplines beyond interaction design in some ways and in other social sciences disciplines as well. We sent out a call for posters in the month of May and June, and the call revolved around asking questions about how is participatory design understood in the field of design, what methodologies and tools are we working with, and what do we want to make participatory design become. The posters were given in a particular format and were largely about ongoing projects. It was shared across 14 design institutes, including all the NIDs and the IITs. And Tanishka will talk more about this in terms of the entries that we received. There was a panel for selection, which an evaluation through which these posters went through. The second thing we are doing is workshops. We have offline workshops and have online workshops happening on the campus on 1st and 2nd of September. Participants have registered from different design schools around India and are coming in here. We also have roundtables from, as I heard, I'm mispronouncing your name, maybe speak. We have 2 roundtables, one from practitioners and academicians who are established in the field, yes, the heroes and the stars, but we are also doing futures of one roundtable on futures of participatory design in India. And for that, we have young practitioners and young people who are using the methodologies of participatory design in their work on field to come in. And now I would call Tanishka to continue with the speaking.
Thanks, Sucharita, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. We tried our best to sort of publicize the call for posters across many fields and disciplines. But I have to say that perhaps we weren't as successful as we hoped to be. We did get 38 entries, and I would say that about 98% entries were from design schools, people placed in different design schools, and a few from others. We've selected 22, and on 30th August, we are hoping to launch our 360 virtual tour on the NID website. We'll be publishing the link very soon, through which people can sort of also get a glimpse of the venue, which is the Ahmedabad campus, where the 2-day conference, 2-day live event is happening, and also see the poster exhibitions. And physical events are happening on 1st and 2nd. And this is a quick glimpse of, you'll see what our venue looks like. And also what you see on the right-hand side are the digital posters that people can see through the 360 virtual tour. I think we have a few images of these. Yeah, there's another one. And this one. Yeah, thanks. We're really happy to host workshops. We have made the workshops also open to students across the city to register on the spot. So there are 4 workshops. I think 2 of them we've got through the main PDC, which is Nishant Sharma and Riti Dhondial are offering, called Exploring Boundary Objects, and Pass the Parcel, which Michael Chu is collaborating with our local facilitator, Amarnath Praful, to organize. And we had sent out a call for workshops locally as well. We got a few responses, and there are 2 which are selected through that. One of them is being offered by Yatharth and Divyansha from the Center for Internet and Society, called App Critique, Inferring Values Through a Design Walkthrough, and another one by a professor from a design school in MIT Pune, called Brain Writing, Letter Writing, and Rapid Prototyping. So these workshops will happen over the 2 days. They'll be open to students. They'll be open to all the participants who are registered. I haven't put that on a slide, but we have about 60 people who are going to turn up for the event, who are registered. And we're also opening it up to students across the city to sort of register, free registration for workshops if they turn up on the day. And finally, the 2 roundtables. So on the first day, we're going to be talking about values and attitudes, and we have people who have been working with PD for a while and will be, reflecting on their own practice, and especially in the South Asian Indian context, what is how do things sort of manifest in our particular kind of regional sort of diversities, and we have a lot of conflicts actually around values currently in society. So how does PD sort of negotiate much of that? And on the second day, as Sucharita said, we have a lot of young practitioners talking about emerging practices and futures of participatory design. And some of them are also presenting posters. So that's how we've designed it. Yes, one last thing. Sucharita, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, we're also trying to have ongoing mapping of PD practices at NID, using the PDC Places as the initiator of it. And even during the on-site event, we are going to have a wall of participatory design and its examples coming up. And amongst our faculty, we've already started circulating slides which we are getting their work put together for showcasing PD practices at NID. Tanishka?
Yeah, so that's mostly what we've been doing for the last few months. Simran, would you like to add something?
Not really. I would say it's been a great collaboration working with NID again, I guess. And it's, yeah, it's been a very enriching process at both ends, I guess.
Thank you. It's been fun for us to collaborate with Simran as well, who's sort of, and we are already working across geographies. So Sucharita is just quickly showing you some of the things that we've collected. So we started with the 4 of us as convenience, of course, Simran sitting in Northumbria and us here. But we've also, I think one of the fun things is we've also expanded our team by adding having more people come in and say that, hey, we are interested in doing this, and also a lot of student volunteers. So I think by the time we get to the final run, we'll have pretty much everybody in NID participating in this. Yeah, thank you. That's, I think. all we have to
There was just one question, Tanishka, which was just, will the map be shared with the PDC community more broadly when you've mapped the
yeah, we haven't really thought about a format in which we may be able to share it, because we haven't completely visualized how we're doing this yet. But it'll emerge in the next 1 week, and certainly we'd like to share it, find a way of sharing it.
That's great. That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
So I'd like to move on and invite Francisca and Zoe, who are going to talk about the work they've been doing with a network that's already international, which is the Patio International Group. So I'll hand over to them and they can tell you about it.
Thank you, Andy. And
Thank you.
I think we need to share our screen, if that's possible.
Yeah, if you could allow me to share the screen, please. I'm still not able. Okay, now I can. Thank you.
Oh, and so we've both used the same link. So I'm Zoe and this is Francisca. So
Yeah,
everyone's
Francisca,
the same
sorry.
label.
Okay, can you see my screen?
I can, but it's not zoomed in. Yeah, perfect.
All right.
Okay, so welcome to our PDC Place. We are Patio International, and we are a collection of designers from Latin America and Europe. So we work specifically in Portugal, Ireland, Mexico, and Brazil. So our desire is to explore the futures that we want to create by bringing people together from many parts of the world to exchange ideas and perspectives through playful and participatory encounters. So in a way, we're trying to bring participatory design into the world, so a little outside of academia and kind of commercial work and more into community building. So we see it as participatory because participants can shape the way the workshops goes, whether they need to keep it more discussion-based or outcome, and we work with visioning the future. So we believe participatory design, the design is to plan or to make, and participatory is to enable people to take action, or responsibility. So we hope that we can embed design skills to increase the confidence of communities to shape how they want their future to look like. So if you want to skip to the next slide. All right, so for this conference, we've been playing with the hybridity of spaces, because up until now, we've been working online only, but now that the pandemic has lessened in our countries, we're also working at a very place-based local workshop level. So this is an example of our introduction. So we had 2 groups that were working in place and the rest of us were working online. And this allows us to be multilingual because the local meetings can stay in original languages. And then when we come together, we kind of use a mix and a little bit more of English. So I think it's a way to join up these local concerns that we uncover in the different places with then a more global systemic view. So kind of colliding worlds, as it were. So Francisca, if you want to continue.
Yeah. So this week we've had the distributed meetings. So the meetings happening in each city, and that was Coimbra in Portugal, Cork in Ireland, and then wait, let me. Okay, and in Mexico City, in Mexico. So for these activities, we asked participants to bring an object or a material that reminded them of community and of communality. And then each participant explained why they bought that material and what it represented to them. And as for me, I was in Portugal, in Coimbra, and I can say that this was a very interesting and also very rewarding activity to be facilitating and to be listening and sharing all these ideas with people from different backgrounds, with different perspectives. And I think each one of us brought a different object, but all the objects kind of like they went well together and it all made a lot of sense. It was interesting to see how we may come from different places, but we all seek the the same things when it comes to community and communality. And so from the objects we brought, we sort of tried to build stuff together, and we built this 3D collage in a way where we tried to assemble parts of each object. And here you can see a picture of the whole group. And as for Cork, I don't know if so you want to mention something since you hosted this activity.
Sure. I mean, it was the same methodology. So each person gave their personal narrative, and we broke down the values of what community means, and then started building ideas. And we still haven't done our personal activity, but we're going to be doing this in the next week. So all followed the same methodology, but they were open to the variance of what participants in each place wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. And for next week, we would all meet. We still have another meeting happening tomorrow in Brazil. And then for next week, we will meet with all the groups online, and we'll share what each group in each place has done. And that's all from us. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Zoe and Francisca. That's really interesting work, and yeah, there are opportunities to join in and see the outcomes of that work later on in the program. So encourage people to have a look at it, and it's great seeing this work spread across places and spread across the world, and showing that we can actually do PD in a broader way. So finally, we've got Luisa, who's from Leuphana in Germany, and she's going to tell us what's been happening at the PDC place in Germany.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. I hope you can hear us, or me. Yeah, I'm super happy to be here finally with you, sharing our ideas, and I really like also to thank you in advance, Andy and Reem, for having us and for all the discussions we had yeah, before the conference. So I also like to share my screen if I'm allowed to.
Luisa, you should be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, I will jump out of the Zoom and come back. Wait a second.
I guess while we wait for Luisa to come back, if anyone has any questions or discussion points.
I'll just share on the schedule. If you want to sort of look at the big picture, then do look at the Places tab, and you can drill down there. Or if you look in the program, you'll see lots of events at PDC Places. Some of those will be online events that you've got the opportunity to join. Some of those are face-to-face events that, well, of course you do have the opportunity to join, but you might need to be in East Africa or Germany or India or Mexico in order to do so. Oh, Louisa's back. So do we need to give her permissions again, though?
Yeah, she came in as an attendee, So I've just changed her status to panelist, and then I'll share screen sharing with her once she's back in the room as a panelist.
Yeah, great. I think I had troubles in opening my screen from Zoom. But let's see.
Let me just make sure that you have the correct. So I'm making you a co-host, and then that should mean you can share your screen. Yeah, great.
All right, now you should see my screen. All right. Yeah, so thank you, everyone. And as I said, thank you, Andy and Reem. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, great. So we are based at Leuphana University, which is in a little town in Germany, which is called Lüneburg. So it's close to Hamburg in the northern parts. And we were really happy to have our PDC Places in Germany as like a pre-conference activity. So it was connected to a local seminar, and the seminar was called Participatory Design in Cities. So the summer term 2020 was kind of for students at Leuphana to actually engage with the topic of participatory design. And yeah, we hope to kind of foster interdisciplinarity, because it was kind of yeah, based at the Leuphana College, so-called. So it's a program in Germany which is yeah, trying to actually foster interdisciplinary exchange by supporting students yeah, as qualified researchers. So they are yeah, they were actually coming from business administration, from law faculty, from yeah, cultural studies, so a mixed group, and they try to kind of understand and engage with participatory design in cities. In May, we had the first guest lecture. I think it was the first event, or yeah, one of the first events of the PDC Places. And we had a guest speaker called Sarah Reimann from the project Lüneburg 2030 Plus. And that's actually a project in Lüneburg where yeah, they try to open up an urban real world laboratory to kind of promote the yeah, sustainable development goals. And they actually created yeah, an in situ office where you can go as a citizen and actually try to speak to the city administration and authorities, and actually, yeah, try to engage with the participatory design in Lüneburg. Our second guest lecture was from the founder of Super Urban, who's called Norbert Neher, and he presented their projects in yeah, mainly the Hamburg region. So he tried to, his talk was in German, and so the course was also mixed German-English. And he told us a lot about the work of his communication agency, though they're planning like workshops. One project is called Super Urban Füreinander Schanze. So that's an area in Hamburg where they try to affect the yeah, the common good, and also developed on-site community engagement experiences. So yeah, check out their websites. It's a really short overview what we've talked about, but the students liked it a lot and also had like fantastic questions. So I guess, yeah, it was like a success for us to invite the guest speakers. And then as a kind of roundup, the students were also kind of similar to the, I think the Indian students, where, invited to actually share their research. So you can see them here. I try to put them on the slides. I'm actually also hoping to be able to share it with you all, because they had fantastic research about projects connected to participatory design and the city as an realm, let's say. So here you can see some examples of the posters, and I think they managed to actually also discuss like Arnstein's letter of citizen participation, and also reflected on the levels of participation, and also the difficulties of it. So one group actually went into a community center, and they did some interviews, so they really got to know the processes behind these complex projects. So last but not least, thank you, Andy and Reem, again. And I also want to thank again our guest lecturers, and of course the students. I hope some of you joined, and the student volunteers, Hannah and Kaiser, big thanks to you. You have organized all the infrastructure you need for the lectures. And I hope that I can share that. So I'm happy to also answer your questions if you have some.
Okay, well, thank you to our speakers. We've got there is another showcase activity which will be taking place on, is it Tuesday? Will be taking place next week, but it will be oriented towards the Americas and that time zone, so it will be afternoon within Europe. I mean, if you do have any questions, each of the PDC places, if you go down and look in the program, you will find contact details for the people that are organizing them, and obviously that's a really useful thing to do, because it may be that you're just interested in one specific activity that's going on and you just want to establish contact, and very much encourage you to do that. So if there are no sort of specific questions, or if you want to fire questions off by email to the organizers, then please feel free to do so. I think the other thing I need to do then in closing the session, I want to thank all of our PDC Place organizers for the great effort that they've made, and there's been a lot of collecting information to try and put this together as a coherent structure and an organized structure, and then sort of tell you what's coming next before you go. So
Andy, Rachel's got a question.
Oh,
is that all right, Andy? I don't know how much you can see on there.
It just didn't appear in the Q&A.
I just switched my camera off. So I think well, it's just fantastic to see so much of the work and just see it. So we've obviously been seeing it come through as text and links and putting it together into the program, but it just brings it to life so much more when we see the fantastic work you're doing and the way that you're representing it. So I guess this is a question to all presenters, if that's okay, to ask, is there anything different about what you've done with PD Places than you would normally do for these kinds of events? Or is there anything that you've thought about differently in pulling together these events? I don't know whether it's easier. Should I maybe oh, I'll let Andy coordinate. I think Simran's got a hand up.
Simran's got her hand up, so Simran, go ahead.
I think it was a very long, tedious process. With PDC Place India, for sure. I think because we were trying to even understand what participatory design meant within an Indian context, and I guess how practices within NID are also different or aligned to the politics within participatory context. If Tanishka or Sucharita would want to add into this. So I guess for us, it was also trying to, that's why we're calling it mapping, because we were also trying to understand what participatory design means within an Indian context. Yeah, Sucharita or Tanishka, if you would like to add to it.
Thanks, Imran, and thanks, Rachel, for this question. It's I was just thinking about one of the things that we did, we didn't sort of bear fruit, but actually led to a lot of interesting conversations and connections was when Andy and Reem, when you were trying to also cross-link across the places. And we had some really nice conversations with our colleagues in Malaysia, Tariq and his colleague, I forget the name now, sorry. If anybody remembers, remind me.
It was Gary.
Gary, that's right, Tariq and Gary. That I think that's not something that we usually do with conferences, try to co-organize across many different locations. We didn't manage to pull off anything, but it was definitely great to have those conversations and think about how we may do it, and maybe some of it will bear fruit in the future. Thanks.
Kagonya, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I think one interesting thing that we did is, I think like the India team, we were really trying to, when we're organizing, so the group of organizers were really trying to understand, how do we define participatory design for Africa? What does that mean? Of course, there are different, people come from different areas, even within PD related fields. What does that mean? How does it present itself? So what we first did for the Kenya session that we've done, we decided now to have this question kind of answered by those who are already doing a form that they feel is participatory design. And hence that's where I had the keynote from someone who started, a startup and is built her own business and is building both technology, both hardware and software technologies. And then we had the panel session where I also invite again those in industry, those startups, those who are in larger companies, so that the discussion again comes from them. So I don't think we really wanted to see what the discussions would yield without necessarily being prescriptive towards it. And then the second session in Uganda, which we're going to have in September, is then when we'll now start to see, can we take now a stronger take? Can we look at how academia informs? So we decided to be deliberately kind of industry heavy in the first set, then academia heavy in the second one. Then I think we'll just kind of see what bubbles up, because as we got to, tease it out, I'm not too sure the nuances or the differences will necessarily be from the definition of it all. It will be from how it's practiced. So I think that's something that we did differently, where we started from what is being done, And when I say done differently, because often you can think of being in academia where you're told, this is the definition of ABCD, these are the approaches, these are the methods. Now we just wanted to see what is actually being done on the ground. What is it even called? It's definitely not being called participatory design. It's being called something else. So what is it being called? Whatever it's being called on the ground, whatever terms are being used, we noted that it's being practiced. So how about we spotlight that situation? Then later we then merge these academic discussions with kind of these industry ones. So I like this bubble up kind of approach we took. So because it's not prescriptive. We didn't really even, we barely, I mean, Andy attended our sessions. I think we were very much switching between co-design, participatory design, UX design, design thinking. We're just like, let it go. I mean, let's just see what bubbles to the top. So I think that's something quite different that we did compared to other conferences that I've been part of.
Okay, Luisa, you've got a response.
Yeah, I like what you say, because I actually also had the experience that students actually try to intervene in kind of the practice of participatory design. So I really like seeing kind of them asking questions about the actual kind of happening. So how are you doing it? And asking Sarah Reimann, like, how is the process of actually involving citizens to engage? And that was really, really interesting, and also I think fruitful for the project. So yeah.
Well, I've realized we technically sort of run over our time, sort of allocated time. I think we were, I mean, we have got until 11 o'clock, but it was set as a 10:45 finish. So I just want to kind of highlight what's coming up. As I say, as John explained in the introduction, there's sort of 2 time slots in UTC that are trying to make the conference more accessible from the Asia Pacific region or from the Americas. And so for those who are in Europe, Africa, and the Americas, or those in Pacific Asia who are happy to stay up very, very late or into the early morning, then there's a session this afternoon, from my point of view, on Beyond Academia, and then a panel discussion this afternoon. And then there's a workshop tomorrow in Puerto Rico that you can engage with. There's doctoral colloquium is on Sunday and Monday, and there are some workshops on Monday. And then at 7 o'clock UTC on Tuesday, there's a full papers session. So that's the view of what's coming up. Big break. Yes. But it's all there in the program. It's all there in the program. Go on into the schedule, and you'll be able to see it in the time zone of your computer, which may or may not be the time zone that you are actually in. If it's not the time zone that you're actually in, then you may need to just adjust your settings. But hopefully that will help you, and you'll be able to fold events into your calendar or your online calendar. So thank you to all of our speakers. Thank you to all of our audience, and I think I'll leave you there. So I suppose we could of course thank them. We could all unmute and we can thank them properly. So would you like to do that? We can make a big noise.
Yeah, it feels much better to do that, doesn't it, rather than kind of sitting in silence.
For those of us who can.
Thanks everyone. That was fantastic. Yeah, just especially the sort of what I like is that it feels like you're able to have a conversation across the different places and see each other's work, even if you've, I think it was really interesting what Tanishka was saying about having those conversations with Malaysia that you may not otherwise have. And I know Simran, I don't think she's on the screen at the moment, saying the how hard work that sometimes is as well. Like I think which Ahmed was alluding to as well, this, those kind of cross cultural or international dialogues, or when people say one thing. I mean, Patio International, you must be experiencing that because you are in the mix with all your different partners. So but yeah, it's fantastic to see and get a sense of, so thank you.
Yeah, and I think actually for a lot of that idea of trying to get things happening across PDC Places, just the load of getting stuff organized in your PDC place meant that there wasn't the time for that, and some of that stuff might well happen afterwards. There are opportunities because you've met those people, and take it up, be lovely. But thank you everyone.
And also, I think Luisa just had something in the chat about, is it possible to put some materials from your sessions into the schedule, like when they've happened? I mean, we'll do our best. I mean, you can probably tell we're sort of like running a bit chaotically, but if we can get stuff up, PDFs, images, I would encourage. If you send us loads of stuff, it's unlikely to get up. But if you send us a good selection, or
Luisa, if you can find somewhere you can host them,
yeah, that's true,
and send a link,
yeah,
then that's going to be easy. That's easy to put in, so that when people go into the Germany PDC place, they can see that link and just go there and look.
Yeah, exactly. That's fantastic. But it is nice to have, a visual of some. We've done that for the situated actions. We've got a visual for each of those. Just one visual, most of them.
Yeah.
And I think it really brings your projects to life. So yeah, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think the students were really keen on having it online. So because we don't have a proper website, they asked me like if I can share it with you, but.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We can put it up. That's fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
and I'm
you.
so happy that I hear the discussions without talking logistics for the first time with organizers.
I can only imagine.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.